What does that feel like as a mom to say, I'm going to stop this right here for my children?
It's amazing. It truly is. Since I've been 30 years old, I've been struggling with what is wrong with me. Why do I feel like this? And they're 16 and 17 and are that much more ahead of the game.
Hey everyone, today we have a really incredible interview for you from a nurse who was dealing with a whole host of autoimmune issues. This had been accumulating over the last 15 plus years for her, and doctor after doctor she went to, she wasn't getting help, she wasn't getting answers, and in some cases, she was even being brushed off and her symptoms being poo-pooed, saying, "You're not doing that bad." Meantime, she was dealing with crushing fatigue, intense brain fog to where she was actually making mistakes at work.
Mm.
She found Dr. Maggie and it all turned around.
Anne, I think she actually represents every person out there struggling with autoimmunity because her story mirrors my story big time. When you look at her list of symptoms, I mean, she was dealing with cutaneous lupus, Sjogren's, thyroid, and lichen sclerosis, right? And all of them are obviously autoimmune, but none of her doctors really realized that or cared. And she was told, actually, you look too good for me to help. What are you doing in my office?
Mm.
And that is heartbreaking to me. But there's so many people out there watching right now where this is you. And if this is you, I can't wait for you guys to see where she is now, just 2 months later, and where she's going. I'm Maggie UMD, and I'm a functional and holistic medicine physician and the creator of the Transform protocol to turn around any autoimmune disease naturally, whether your physicians know it's autoimmune or not. And today, if you're watching from YouTube or Instagram or Facebook, give us a thumbs up, give us a like, and give us a follow so you get alerted every time we go live. If you haven't joined our Facebook group, make sure you join our Facebook group, Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally, where we have trainings and case studies in there and a team to chat with you. If you want to learn more about our program, Transform Autoimmune Disease Naturally, you could also click the link above or below this video and chat with us.
All right, Misty, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Misty. I am a mother of three, and I have two grandchildren and one on the way in another month. I am a registered nurse, and I have a few autoimmune diagnoses, including cutaneous lupus, lichen sclerosis, Sjogren's, and hypothyroidism, which I discovered through this program was Hashimoto's.
And so no one had ever diagnosed you with Hashimoto's before this.
No.
Interesting. That alone was valuable information. So talk to me a little bit about what were you dealing with these whole host of autoimmune issues?
I had been struggling with random symptoms for 15 years, and they just kept compiling year after year. And I could never figure out exactly what was going on. I had the diagnosis of hypothyroidism and was medicated for that. But even so, that did not improve my symptoms a whole lot. And as the years went by, I continued to get more and more symptoms to the point where my overall health was just declining at a rapid rate.
Tell me more about that. Being diagnosed with lupus, what were your main symptoms you were dealing with?
Crushing fatigue, my energy, my endurance was decreasing by the day. Brain fog. I had serious brain fog. I had a lot of skin issues, rashes, bumps, itchiness. I would even get chest tightness, and my back, I would get muscles very weak. Days I would be weak, and the inconsistency of symptoms every day was different.
And then it seemed like they just continued to multiply and snowball into more and more issues. I mean, you mentioned lichen sclerosis, which, if people are not familiar with that, that can be severe vaginal pain. You were dealing with a lot. How was that impacting your life?
Oh, it was a struggle every day, to be honest. I never knew what I was going to be waking up to or what symptoms I was going to be having. I had a lot of bladder issues too. So every day was something new, a different day, but I just never felt great, mind, body, or spirit. It just all kind of compounded and was making me feel worse and worse
And
every day.
the Sjogren's as well. You were experiencing dryness. Was that in your eyes, your mouth, all over?
Extreme eyes, my mouth. I've always required a lot of water. Could never figure out why, but through this program, I figured out the right amount to be drinking. But yes, severe dry eyes and mouth.
Well, you talked about this was really starting to weigh on you physically and emotionally. I'm curious, what kind of help were you getting from the medical world?
Not a lot. I was told once I was diagnosed with the cutaneous lupus that I did not need to come back unless I had rashes again or if I had joint pain. And I did have some pain, but again, intermittent, came and went. So when I did make an appointment with a rheumatologist, he really just did not support me at all. He would touch my joints and say, I don't know why you're here. You're not in pain. If I can touch your joints and you're not telling me you're in pain, then you're fine. And I even had some lab work that would come back abnormal, but it was never addressed. And before joining this program, I went to a rheumatologist and she did all kinds of blood work again and found some odd things, but again, no answers. I've been to several different specialties and never find anything.
So I imagine that feeling must have been very frustrating. I can relate. I've been there too. You're dealing with all of these things that might not be visibly able to see from the doctor, but it is really impacting your life in such a dramatic way that to feel brushed off like that, what did that do for you?
Yes, it was very, very frustrating. And again, I work in the medical world. So I truly believe that people are working and doing the best that they can with the knowledge that they have. But it just, for years, I knew there's something else going on. I needed to stop whatever process was happening. And I could never get an answer, no matter what kind of tests or screenings I was put through.
So I'm curious, how did you come across the Transform program and Dr. Maggie?
I have studied autoimmune things online or researched for a very long time and done a lot through social media. And I just happened to come across her program on Facebook. And then it really resonated with me. Just the knowledge that she had to offer in those short clips and some of the testimonials that I seen, it just really resonated with me. And it was autoimmune focused rather than a specific symptom focus. And so I did probably creep on her program for about 3 to 6 months. And then I did the hormonal master class. And then after that, I had received such great results and enjoyed my time with Dr. Maggie so much that I decided to invest in the rest of the program.
Well, I want to hear about the results in just a minute, but I'm just so curious. You're in the medical field, you are a nurse. So it's just so fascinating to me when somebody else in the medical field cannot get help along the traditional route in the medical field and then finds Dr. Maggie. And you said you just immediately connected. It all made sense. Everything she was saying, you were like, aha, this is finally the answer.
Yeah. hmm It was. It's just, yeah, she just had the answers to things that I had been experiencing for years. And I could just relate to everything that she was saying. And it was just so relieving to find somebody that understood it and had experienced it themselves and knew that there's more to it than just a symptom and fixing that one symptom.
So let's go back just a minute and let's talk about when your pain was at the worst in terms of, I know you were talking about your skin issues, your brain fog, your fatigue, all of it. How bad were those symptoms for you? Scale of 1 to 10 before joining this program.
I would say probably a 4.
So, not
Mhm.
the worst. We've heard people say, oh my gosh, it was an 8 in terms of how bad my symptoms were. But you started out at a 4, you're saying.
I think so because I pushed myself a lot and I implemented a lot of things before this program, but it just wasn't honed in enough on exactly what I needed to be doing.
Well, and nobody wants to live at a 4 in terms of not having a great quality of life. You don't want to have symptoms. You don't want to be dealing with this at all, if at all possible. You want to be enjoying your children and your grandchildren without the fatigue and the brain fog and all of the other issues. So now you said after the hormone class and after you joined the program, you had some pretty great results. What was it like after going through the program?
Shortly after joining the program, I started noticing improvements with my fatigue and brain fog was slowly lifting. And now I was to the point at work before the program that I was finding my own mistakes. I was losing my confidence. And now I'm back to where I want to be. And I feel like I can improve even more provided I keep implementing what I was, taught and what I had learned, because I do tend to have some inconsistency, but I can really relate it to what I'm doing with my lifestyle and what I've learned.
You mentioned that you were making mistakes at work. I mean,
Mhm,
as a nurse, that I'm sure is unacceptable. You're dealing with other people's lives and
mhm.
their symptoms, and they're relying on you. So, what was that like for you emotionally? I'm sure you take very much pride in what you do, and then to not be able to function at an appropriate level. What did that feel like for you?
It was very discouraging, and, yeah, I felt like I was coming to the end of my road. I didn't know how I could improve. I wasn't getting any answers from anyone. I I just didn't know. I knew that I wasn't gonna be able to continue if that was the case, if I just continued with the brain fog and it was getting worse and worse. And I'm not at the bedside, but regardless, the mistakes I was finding was, it was, yeah, very frustrating and discouraging.
And did you mention you alluded to it a little bit? You said you didn't know if you could continue. Were you thinking about I'm going to have to leave my profession? I'm going to have to stop working at any point? Did that cross your mind?
I did, yeah, because again, the safety, I'm certainly not gonna put anybody else in harm's way, and knowing that I couldn't rely on myself to take care of other people in my profession, yeah, I was considering having to leave it.
And that's just so devastating because this is something I'm sure you love doing and you were helping people and you'd worked your whole life to get to this point and to do this. So I want to ask you this. Some people say that the cost of the program could be something that may have given them a second thought and held them back from joining. Was that something that came to your mind as well when looking at the cost?
It was, yes, it absolutely was. It held me back for a while. However, once I got some results from the hormonal class, I realized that if I could improve that much from what I learned through that, it was worth the investment.
Yeah, and it really is a small investment when you consider what you're getting out of it. I want to ask you the $1 million question to you, Misty. What is the cost benefit for you and your life, the value for this program?
I mean, honestly, it's priceless because without the program, I was headed down a bad road. I wasn't going to be able to improve with everything else that I had tried and in the medical world and researching myself, trying to just, learn myself about what to do, the right things to do, or how I could improve. I could never get that consistency and feeling of improvement. So it's priceless.
So, people want to know, how were you able to have such amazing results? I mean, you mentioned improvement started almost immediately and then just continued to get better. What do you think made the difference for you?
I really implemented everything that Dr. Maggie taught us and suggested. I think the blood sugar balancing was huge for me. I did not realize that I had such a blood sugar problem. Yeah, I had no idea that I had such highs and lows. I knew that I was probably getting low often because I was kind of traumatized by food. I would eat and I would get sick. I would not feel well afterwards. I would crash because my blood sugar probably was so low and then spiked so high because I ate. So learning to balance that was huge for me, huge. And then the right amount of water intake. I mean, all of it. I mean, truly balancing my hormones, the whole program put together has made a difference for me.
Mhm. And getting that personalized data. Had you
Mhm.
ever had anything like that ever before from another doctor where you were getting not only personalized data, but the right tests that actually were impactful and from somebody who knew not just what these reference ranges were, but what's optimal for Misty?
Right. No, I did not. Even my thyroid, what I learned through this program for my thyroid, the Hashimoto's, was enlightening. It has made a huge difference in my medication and how I'm feeling. That would have never been in 15 years, those tests were never run.
You've been dealing with that for well over a decade and a half now, and never had you had the appropriate testing done and the analysis done to give you the insight and make changes that are finally going to help you feel better.
Yep, absolutely. And I also learned, I was able to carry that through to my children. I have two daughters who I was able to share that information with and do some of that testing and enlighten their world at a young age.
Are they dealing with thyroid issues as well?
One of them is, yes.
What does that feel like as a mom to say, I'm going to stop this right here for my children? I am not going to let them go through what I went through.
It's amazing. It truly is. I'm so thankful that I'm able to share that information with them because, again, I suffered for probably even longer than 15 years before I was actually diagnosed with hypothyroidism. So, since I've been 30 years old, I've been struggling with what is wrong with me. Why do I feel like this? Why do I feel like this? And they're 16 and 17 and are that much more ahead of the game. So I'm ever grateful for that.
Yeah.
Thankful. Hmm.
Everyone absolutely wants the best for their children, but it's unfortunate that so many people don't have this information and are not then able to stop it in its tracks and not let their children's health spiral in the same way that their own health has spiraled. So you're being quite an amazing example and advocate now for your children. So what an added benefit.
It is. It's amazing. And my kids are the first ones that noticed the change in me after I joined this program. And I always tell this story. My kids were very small, just old enough to be able to write, and they wrote me a poem. And it's very simple, but roses are red, violets are blue. You sleep a lot, but we still love you.
That's when you were first starting to feel sick.
Yeah, that was many years ago. Yeah, like they were 3 and 4 years old when they wrote that.
Misty, as a mom, to have these young children already seeing, my children can tell that mommy doesn't feel well. My children can tell that mommy can't always do the things that they'd like for me to do. Thinking back on that, what is that like for you emotionally to know you suffered so many years and perhaps weren't able to be the parent that you wanted to be at all times?
Yeah, it's very emotional. Being a mother, a great mother, has always been my number one goal in life, and I struggled with it. I was the best mother I could be, but had I had this knowledge, I could have been better because there were certainly times that I couldn't make the meal that I wanted to make them or read the book. My youngest daughter, she loved for me to read her books, and I would fall asleep reading books all the time to her. It's rough. It's tough. I mean, again, and now they're 16 and 17. So there was definitely some moments wasted, time wasted, but it was the best I could do with what I had at the time.
Now I'm curious, have they seen a huge change in mom? And if so, what's this been like on your family, the people around you, just to be so much healthier and to feel better?
Oh, it's been amazing and remarkable that just the time that we spend together is much more quality now. I can actually participate more. I'm not too exhausted to have those conversations, and I can find most of my words on most days. I'm not struggling with the brain fog as bad, and just the energy to live life, and even the simple things, just making a meal and having dinner together, and let alone going on vacations and doing things and playing. Like I said, when we started this recording, I was out playing with my grandchildren. It's much better than sleeping on the couch while I'm trying to take care of them.
Yeah, making memories, being able to run around with your grandkids, something you probably could not have dreamed of being able to do before. And now you're able to make those memories. And these are things that your grandchildren will get to remember forever about Grandma Misty. And you have another grandchild on the way. So you're going to need
I,
even more energy to
that's
continue.
right.
What about your relationship with your spouse?
Same. He noticed a difference almost immediately, also just in my mood, in my energy, sleeping less. I used to come home from work and crash on the couch and most evenings for hours on end if I ever got up before going to bed for the night. So yes, he noticed immediately, and he was very supportive from the beginning of the program. He knew I struggled with this and said, if that's what you need to do, do it. So he was very supportive.
It can really make a difference in recovery to have that support system and to have somebody who is behind you 100%, being a cheerleader, saying, whatever you need to do, let's make it happen. So I'm sure that means a lot to you that you have somebody in your corner.
It sure does. Yeah, absolutely. It makes a big difference.
So I know you're a nurse, and so you probably love researching and learning new things. And so I'm curious, what was it like going through this program and getting what amounts to basically a master's degree in your own health?
It is. It was so empowering, and It's amazing. I wish I could implement this into. There's so many people that I know that are struggling with autoimmune, and I don't even know that they know that. But it's amazing. I just want to be able to share it and improve people's lives because I couldn't believe the change in mine.
I know you really enjoyed the knowledge that you got. And something that you had mentioned you really loved was being on the mastermind calls and talking directly and learning directly from Dr. Maggie. Tell me, what was it like to work directly with Dr. Maggie?
Amazing. She's so knowledgeable. So knowledgeable. It just was enlightening. Just ever so grateful that I was able to run across her and have her in my back pocket. And I still enjoy just going on the alumni group and listening to some of her small clips that she puts out. Just really enjoy it. She's amazing. So educational and knowledgeable, and I love how she shares with the max amount of people that she can to improve their quality of life.
Well, that's why she's doing it. I mean, she truly wants to help people. She was inspired, as you may know, by her own mother's health issues and then her own health issues. And so she can absolutely relate to everybody that she's helping, and she wants to see them get better. And luckily, everybody does get better. Tell me what it's like for you. You were in this community and you had a pod of people that you went through this program with, and you got to see so many other people also achieving results. What was that like for you to say, wow, everybody around me is improving?
Yeah, it was amazing because none of us have the same issues going on. We all have different things going on. So the program was great in that it gave you a wealth of knowledge to personalize to yourself also from your own data, but in a roundabout way. It applies to everybody that's dealing with autoimmune issues, no matter what their symptoms are. There were people in the program that couldn't put weight on, and following what they implemented, they were able to gain that weight, or vice versa. It's amazing the amount of lives that she can touch in a small amount of time, truly.
You mentioned playing with your grandchildren and just having more meaningful relationships overall, but I wonder, is there something else that comes to mind that you couldn't dream of doing before that now you're able to do effortlessly?
Yes, before I started this program, I was to the point where I couldn't exercise. My body just wouldn't allow me to. If I walked down the driveway, I was having a hard time breathing. My muscles were hurting. It was just I did not have the endurance anymore to do that. That has since turned around. I'm now walking and running or biking, doing all those things that I could not do. And I'm also hoping to advance my career, which before I started, that was not a possibility for me.
Well, yeah, you were thinking about having to leave your career. I mean, to
Mm.
be done
Right.
and have an early retirement. And now you're talking about advancing your career in what way?
I'm thinking about getting into leadership, or I may also get more education in the functional medicine world and do some health coaching or related education that way to the autoimmune population. I'm just navigating and trying to figure out where that path is going to take me. That's what I'm most passionate about.
So not only has this changed your life physically, but it sounds like it's really transformed you and inspired you to want to help people in a new way.
Absolutely. It really has. Hmm.
And so I'm curious, what about the mindset work for you? It seems like perhaps that had a big impact on you.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it also, for sure. Just creating that I am statement. I still go back to that.
Do
We
you
all
say
have
it to
good.
yourself sometimes? I'd love to hear
I
what it
do.
is.
I do. It
What is
is.
it?
I am a strong, beautiful, courageous, vibrant woman.
Yes, you.
Mhm.
Misty, I so appreciate you taking the time to share this with us and being so open about your journey. Just as a final question, if there's somebody out there, perhaps with some of the issues that you were struggling with, maybe feeling exhausted, the fatigue, the brain fog, the pain, what would you say to them as they sit there wondering, is there hope out there for me?
I would say definitely give it a try. Join the program. Don't hesitate if you're struggling to find those answers. Give it a try. It's well worth its weight in gold. I
Someone-
actually spoke to someone last evening, a gal that I contacted through Facebook about autoimmune disease, and spoke with her for over an hour about the program. And she is considering joining. She actually had a friend that she spoke to that joined the program and is currently in the program. And now she's considering joining also.
Well, there's no better testimonial than when you're sharing your own story and you're encouraging so many others to say, hey, I know this will work for you because it not only it worked for me, but I saw it work for everyone around me. So thank you for spreading the word, and thank you for being so generous with your time and sharing your story.
Yes, you bet. Thank you so much.
It was so great to hear from Misty, and I'm just so happy that she's able to not only embrace her time with her family, she has grandkids and one on the way. She's also helping her own children and stopping their autoimmune attack before it can get out of control, much like hers was.
Yeah.
That is so invaluable. And beyond that, she's now not only thinking about being able to continue to work, but expanding her role and perhaps even doing something more exciting for her with autoimmunity in the healthcare field. So this whole program has really been a huge life changer for her, not just helping with her symptoms, but really reshaping her life in such a positive way.
You know, it always touches a special place in my heart when I see a medical professional who's basically going to lose their career as a result of all these symptoms that her doctors don't think is any big deal. Because I was in that same place, Anne. And you know that for 18 months, I could not do my job. I mean, and was seriously contemplating ending my career as well. And it's so heartwarming to see that she's going to be able to work. And I love the fact that even before this interview, she was rushing in from playing with her grandkids. And I don't know. I mean, isn't this what life is about?
Yeah, and I know that this is why you do what you do, Dr. Maggie. You truly want to see people's lives improve and you truly want to help
Yeah.
them. And it is so rewarding to see the fruits of the labor in action. And here Misty is laying on the couch, sleeping all the time, unable to do much. And now she's running around. She's hanging out with the grandkids. She's able to live her life.
Well, that poem that her kids wrote her when they were 3, roses are red, violets are blue. Although you sleep all the time, we still love you. It's heartbreaking. And so I love the fact that she's no longer a warning. She's an example now for her children. And those are the 2 most powerful ways with which we influence our children. Stop being a warning, everybody. Start being an example. So I love that. She's kicking ass, taking names, and chewing bubblegum while she's at it. That's my motto, and I'm sticking to it.
Oh, and if
Maybe,
anybody else is interested in chewing the bubble gum while taking names and kicking butt as well,
yeah,
you can get more information from the team.
yeah, absolutely. Click the link above or below this video and start a chat with us. Thanks, everybody.